Alrighty, welcome to another DFIR Python study group class. And today we're gonna finish the chapter number 6, if I'm not mistaken, where we actually are using Flask to create, the whole web access to our little letters program. And some of the things that we learned, and I think is really underlined by the chapter, is how to do templates, render templates. And that's really, really, really useful because you kind of separate your coding from your actual HTML code. If you look here at the script, there's no HTML code inside the script. It's outside in its own templates, which makes changing the look of your pages so much easier and so much better. So let's get into one of the things I wanted to discuss yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, last class, and I didn't, was these lines of code right here. And I'm gonna make this a little bit larger so we can actually look at it better, like the wolf in the story. So I can look at you better. There we go. So notice here that we're working with a log, that's the text file, right? So we open the text file and we know this coding pattern already. And we do our file handler, right? There, log. And then we're gonna go line by line in log. We could use any variable name. We just call it line because it makes sense. And we're taking, and what we're doing is first we're gonna start and do an empty list, append an empty list, okay? And then for every item, as we're going we're going through it, what we're gonna do is we're gonna split on the little bar character here. And then every single thing that's been separated, right? So split from it, we're gonna append it to the end of the list. That's why it's -1. We want it to be at the end of the list. And then here we're escaping any HTML characters within that, or weird characters within the item. And we take that list and we give it to the template to show it to us. So when that's implemented correctly, it looks something like this. Oh, of course I need to start the script first. That would help. There we go. So how that looks is, and it's log, right? View log, was it? Yeah, view log. There we go. There we go. It's how it looks. Notice here the first line looks weird because this is the log before I changed it to look like this, to have the bar delimited fields. And it looks pretty nice, right? You got now actual columns and different fields, remote address, user agent. In your forensic cases, this is so interesting, so important. This could be spoof, of course, but still it's a good piece of information to have when you're working intrusion cases. The results of the search of the vowels, from where it's coming from, this is localhost, your local computer, what the phrase was and what the letters were that which is the alphabet. I mean, not the alphabet, the vowels. Okay, so that's easy peasy. And again, if you have questions on this, let me know. I didn't go into a whole bunch of details here because the book goes through it. If you have a specific question of, hey, look, I don't understand how split works or the -1 works, what escape does, I'm more than happy to answer them and try to answer them here. If you're not really sure what this means, I refer you back to the book. It has the explanation. And again, I'm more than happy to answer any questions on that, okay? Another thing I wanted to, again, emphasize is which I did last class, but I'll say it again, is the use of main. If you're running the program as is, it will run the application, right? And it will actually enable the web server and do its thing. If it is not run as main, if you're importing this code somewhere else, it will not actually run the server, but you will have access to the different things inside the script, the different functions inside the script if you need them. So that's how you use main, one way of using main. If it's a standalone script, run it, run the web browser, the web server, and use Flask. If not, if you're not main because you're being added or imported from another script, then you have access to these code, to these functions from the other script, and that's it. All right, so let's get, oh, and by the way, where's my notebook? For next class, we're gonna start chapter 7, and it will be from page 281 to 289. And what we will be doing is pretty much setting MySQL or MySQL server. And again, the SQL SQL is like GIF and GIF. So anybody listening, don't judge me on saying SQL, okay? Or squirrel, however you want to say it. I like squirrels. Squirrel. Page 281 to 289. We're gonna set up a MySQL server on your boxes and create some tables. So pretty much what we'll be doing is, instead of logging to a text file, we're gonna be logging to a database. The good thing is that some of the things that you'll see how to connect to them using Python, you already know. They're really similar to the ones we discussed using SQLite databases, which is pretty similar. And if you wonder what the main difference is that SQLite is like a one user database, whereas MySQL is a multi-user database. That's kind of, in my mind, the big difference. There's way more, but all right. So let's talk about the homework. So we had the deliver notifications plist, which in last class we looked, and it's actually a BP list, a binary plist, right? And it was serialized as an NS key archive, which is a big pain in the behind if you don't have these tools as we're going through it. And I'm working off one of the code that was shared in the Discord channel. I will not pronounce the username because it's a big, like, kind of Roman numeral type of thing. So the user, I mean, the coder that did this, that's part of the class, it did a pretty good job. I just kind of tweaked it a little bit because I wanted to show you 2 new things that you will find really useful. Before I show you those, I want to show you the import. So we took the library that Yogesh did for us and we imported it. And we imported it as ND, which is fine. So then instead of writing all this thing, we can just say, okay, ND. Okay, and let me see if I can show you where it is. One, two, no, where is it? I don't know where it is. I'll find it later. All right. So, oh, here it is. Right in my face. Here it is, ND. I don't know why didn't it pick it up? Oh, I did. It went too fast. Okay, ND. So instead of having to write NSKA deserialized and write it all here, no, I just write as ND, then I can refer to this library as ND. We're really convenient. So ND, then the dot notation, which we know, and then we use this function to be able to deserialize our NSK archive plist. And again, this word should be familiar to you at this point, what the deserialization means. And again, if you're like, well, how do I know what functions to use? How do I know the functions in this library? You got 2 options. You can either go to Yogesh's GitHub and look at the documentation where it tells you how to do it. Or you can just open the library itself and just look at it. You know enough Python to be able to look and kind of have a feel for what a particular function is doing because you know how they're defined, right? Like we see here, you know that they're defined, they have a name, you know that they might have arguments, or in this case, might not have arguments. And then you know that the block of code all the way to the end will be responsive to that function. And you can look at that code and figure out kind of what it does, okay? Those are 2 ways of figuring these type of things out. Okay. So what we've done here is we have a results. It's an empty list. Okay. And now we're going to go through the deserialized data. And as we learned last class, the deserialized data is a dictionary, right? Like a list of and a dictionary all together, depending on how the data structure. So since we know that, what we're going to do is we're going to treat it as a dictionary because it is. And let me, let's show that real quick. Do I have any other prints? I have a whole bunch of, okay, yeah, I don't have any other prints. Good. There we go. So now I go to the top here. There's a whole bunch of them. If I print the whole thing, you'll see here that it is a dictionary. Oh, as we learned last class, okay? And we want to access particular keys, okay? So the way we do it here is, let me just delete this because I don't want to see it. If the key, K is for key, right? If we find this key, I want the value to be placed in this variable so I can reference it later. If the key is this, then the value is going to be placed in this variable so I can reference it later, and so forth. Now, this is the new stuff. Let's say we get into notification user info. Okay, we got that key. Inside that key, there might be a whole bunch of interesting things. So let's print that out and see what we get. And notice how I am using kind of prints strategically to kind of figure out what's going on. And actually, let me just give a space here so that way we can separate them from different messages. Okay, there we go. All right, so all the way to the space, it's one notification. All right, so notice that inside notification users, we have all these different keys, right? And I said on the homework that I want you to look for the screen name, the full name, and a video link for that tweet, if any. And if you notice, the screen name, you see the key here for screen name, and the value is Chrissy Teigen, right? The screen name is actually, if you go backwards, it's part of the, it's a dictionary. This dictionary is a value of the author key, which happens to be the author key happens to be part of a dictionary of the key tweet. Oh my goodness, it's dictionary inception, right? We got this dictionary, which a key has another dictionary, which has a key that has another dictionary. And the way the user did it originally is not wrong, it's correct. As we taught, they were iterating through it, right? They were going and opening the dictionary and looking for the key value through iteration, which is what we've done up here, okay? We're using iteration to get to our keys and our values. And the person was doing the checks, which is correct. It's not wrong, it is absolutely correct. But I want to teach you something new. I want to teach you that if you know your dictionary and how it's structured, you can access it straight up this way with referencing each key using the bracket notation, like we do, kind of like we do in lists. In lists, we don't use, it has to be numbers, integers, right? Because you're referencing locations, address, locate, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But here we can use actual keys, right? Which is, you know, a string, which is pretty awesome. So at this point, when we do this, we assign the value to this variable. This variable, instead of it, has a dictionary. So we can go to, in this dictionary, let's go to the first key, which is tweet. So here it is, tweet. Now I'm gonna go to the next key within it, which is author, awesome. And then I'm gonna go inside of that and look for screen name, awesome, right? And whatever the value of that is, which is the user's name, I'm gonna put it inside the, or you know, reference it under the screen name variable. And I do the same thing with the full name. Again, we go to tweet, then we go to author, and then we go for full name, which is right here, full name. And it's the name as so, okay? If that makes sense, give me a 1. I don't have my little screen, so if, Brooke, if you see ones, then let me know. If you see zeros, because it doesn't make sense, also let me know so I can re-explain it.
I'm seeing all ones.
All right. Awesome. So that's pretty neat. Now, sometimes you'll find that in some situations, the data that you expect might not be there, right? Because there's no rule, no law that says that this particular dictionary, the UN notification user info, there is no law that says that it has to have a screen name in the author value, in the tweet, the author key, within the tweet key, within this thing, right? This key. It might not be there. You might be expecting it and it might not be there. And what happens when you're expecting or looking for something and you try to reference it and it's not there? What do you think happens to your script if it says, give me this information and it's not there? Can anybody guess? Maybe I can show you. Not maybe, I will show you. Let me show you. This is how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna name it a key that doesn't exist. What's gonna happen? goes fine the first go around, but then when it hits this value, key error, this doesn't exist, and your program dumps. And I say dumps, what I mean is like, you know, takes a dump, right? It's crashed, it doesn't work anymore. This is not good, right? This is absolutely not good. You want your programs to be robust, and it's something I haven't mentioned, but I will now. You want your programs to be able to handle errors. You don't want your program to come with something that's not expecting and just dropping out of the face of the earth, right? You want your scripts to be able to continue and take note of what's happened, and to let you know, okay? So today is your introduction to error handling, which actually gonna dovetail really good with logging that we're learning in the book, because you want to log in our space, you want to log any errors of your parsing, okay? So if you have an error, not an error, let me say this. If you cannot access something, your script will crash. To avoid that, we have a construct called try except, which is what you see here on the screen. What try except does is it will try to do these things, and if it can, it will do them. That's great. If not, down here, you can determine what you want to do with that error and then move forward, right? In this particular instance, this blocks of code here, I am not doing anything if I have an error. I just let it go and do nothing. And the reason for that is because I want to show you how to pass it, but also because in this particular instance, if I don't see the screen name or the full name, I don't really care. I don't care to have it. But if you do care to have it, then you can do something like my second coding method, which is, hey, look, that video URL, no video available, okay? And again, I'm just showing you this to kind of introduce you to the fact that this coding structure, try except, is super useful. You'll be able to do certain things and try them out. If they flunk or don't pass, they don't work, you can then determine here what you want to do with it, right? And that will keep your program running. For example, here you can decide to just log it to a file, log it to a database, or send the error to the screen, up to the error to the screen to the user, which we will do soon, like next class, hopefully. Okay, so the teaching points is reference your keys directly using bracket notation, which it makes it really convenient. You don't have to do so many if analysis and iterations through it. You can just reference it directly. Use try except to make sure the thing works, okay? Look at this one down here. I did a try. What's gonna try? If this thing exists, this this long key and value thing exists, and the value equals this video, then give me the URL of it. Okay, let's explore this a little bit more. Notice here that you have the dictionary. We went to tweet as we did previously. We went to media, but notice this. What is this? Is this a key, a dictionary key? Let's show that. And the way we're gonna show that is, let's do a little print here. Actually, what you should do is, not there, I apologize. Let me take this out so we don't get too much junk on our screen. And I should do it over here. There we go. Actually, I shouldn't do that. My bad. I apologize. I should do actually this. Up to here only. Yes, up to here. Perfect. Let's see. Okay, so let's look at this. And let's give it a space so we can actually differentiate it from the other notifications. Hopefully what you're seeing me doing makes sense to you without me having to explain it at this point. At least the prints and stuff like that. Okay, let's the one here on the bottom. So notice how media itself, this key inside of it has a list. You notice that? It has a list in it. And the list, if you look at it, it's only one big dictionary. This list does not have any more locations in it. It's only 0. And that's why I put a 0 here, because I recognize this is a list and I want to reference this dictionary that goes all the way from here to here, from the starting bracket to the ending bracket. All this data is index 0 of this list. So I put it down here. And I made the point of showing this because notice how I'm referencing the keys on my dictionary. And if I happen to come across a list, I will reference it as I reference lists. And then inside of that as a dictionary, then I will reference the next thing as I reference dictionaries with the strings for that key, all right, which I think is pretty powerful. It really makes you get into the data that you need way quicker. That also means that you as the forensic examiner, you need to have a handle of how the data is ordered, okay? You need to go all the way to the top, print out your deserialized BP list and figure out what the data means, right? And you might be like, well, Alex Briggs, I've never seen this app before. I don't really understand how this is related. I see some terms that have to do with my case, but I don't know how that works. Well, that means that you will have to possibly get a exemplary phone, create data that you have control, that you know what you're doing, take your notes, do the extraction, get the BP list from the known data, and then make sense of it. You have to make sense of based on what you know over to what you don't know. And that's the part of doing research and then adding that research or automating that research with your coding, okay? If you have a good grasp of how the data is ordered or structured, then you can easily do this, what you see here. Then you can easily do this, right? You can then say, okay, I want to go this key, this list, this location in this list, and then this key. And then if this key is video, which means there's a video right here, like, oh yeah, it's video, there's a video here, right? Then and only then I want to go into the same list and pull out the URL. You see the URL, and here's the URL for whatever it is, the video that we want, okay? If that makes sense, give me a 1. Brooke, let me know what's coming up on the screen.
All ones.
Okay. And please, by all means, this code is, you can copy paste it from the Discord channel, and please do try it and get a feel for address or accessing dictionaries and lists in this format also on top of doing iteration like this, right? And again, let me rephrase that. I'm still doing iteration, right? I mean, I'm still going through the dictionary itself, don't get me wrong. But when I want to pull something from it, I can pull it like this. As I'm iterating, I can pull it by referencing the keys and the values straight up. I shouldn't say values, the keys and the locations. Okay, so now that we have everything in our different variables, then we append them to a list for logging or reporting, which again, this coding pattern is nothing new. We used it in all our scripts, and I believe, and it's the coding pattern that I use for ALIP and ILIP. All right, so then what do? We open the text file. We encoding UTF-8, which is great. And then there we go. We just write to the file what we want. So let's just run it. Run succeeded. I still left this print on, so that's why you see some stuff on the screen, but it don't matter. And now let's look at the results. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Let's look at the results from the text file produced from the script. All right, so you see here, app notification message, and you have here. Then you see underneath app creation date, and you have this. Then app notification title as expected. The screen name, the full name. In this case, no video was available. And that is because, again, it did the try, it failed because this was not a true statement. This if did not happen. There was no video on it. Therefore, the accept says, okay, then video URL will be no video available. And in a sense, it's kind of this try behaves a little bit like an if and else, right? Try this. If this is not true, then try and then do this, right? So kind of like a try, like if else. The difference is that here you can actually, do a whole combination of operations within the try. You can do an if, you can do assignments, you can do a whole bunch of things. And if they don't all finish properly, like give you a true, it will not execute it, it will not crash your program, and it will continue working as you designed it. Okay. Last thing is this is the way the user wrote to the file, which is great. It's fantastic. You could also have decided to do it keeping the columns column format, and that you can reference the book, the chapter 6. We spent a lot of time looking at how our web app is logging to a file using, for example, the bar separator. You can have done that too and apply what you learn on the book on how to do your report. Again, this is not wrong. You know, each entry here is the data that I wanted for a notification, right? But you can also decide to do it like in a column format, which was also a possibility. And you know how to do that based on the knowledge of chapter 6 and also based on some code that I provided previously. Okay, so that's what I got for today. Was that, Brooke, any thoughts on that? Did that make sense to you?
Makes sense to me. I thought that was interesting. I liked try except.
Right. No, try except is fantastic. I love that you said that. Try except is fantastic. I use it liberally in my coding, depending on what I need to do, because it doesn't crash your program. When you look at iLeap, let's say iLeap, when you open a Chrome database, right? I haven't been able to implement all different Chrome database versions. That's pretty ridiculous, right? It's just too many changes. But so I have the latest implemented, right? Let's say I have an old phone and try to pull something from a particular Chrome database, right? From the browser. It might not find the column because it's not there. It's an old version of that database that they didn't have a column, right? Instead of my program just saying crashing and stopping, it tells me, look, this column does not exist. And then it moves to the next artifact. It does a try, doesn't find what it needs. This didn't work, except sends me the error to the screen, sends the error to the log, and then you keep with the next artifact. And that is fantastic. When you're dealing with a lot of data in your coding, you try accepts, and then whatever is accepted, give a message out so you can then follow up on it and figure out what went wrong or why is it not parsing it. So, yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah. Next, today is what, Tuesday, right? If you're not able to finish, let me see here, just make sure I'm in the right place. If the class is not able to finish all the pages for next class, that's okay. What I'll do is I'll just kind of briefly discuss how to set up MySQL, and then go into protobuf. It will take a little bit of time. If you're having issues, depending on the computer using, on following the instructions on the book, please go to the Discord. After I'm done here, I'm gonna type some little hiccups that I had when I had installing the latest version in Mac OS. So I have a couple of little hiccups that I went through. So for example, the book, you'll see the book doesn't tell you to start the service. It assumes that the service starts on its own. Well, no, I had to go and write on the console, mysql.server space start. So then the thing would actually be running, because your database is not running, it's not going to work, right? But the book didn't tell me to do that. So you'll find little hiccups like that. So don't get frustrated. If you find something, because the book is not the latest version of MySQL, and you cannot expect that. The versions go faster than the books come out, right? If you find a hiccup, don't get frustrated. Put it on the Discord. I will try to help you out, or the rest of the class can also try to help you out. Okay?
And also, there's still, just a reminder, no class next Tuesday.
Oh, important. Thank you for that, because I needed that reminder. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll put another reminder out on Thursday, but no class next Tuesday.
Well, that's better, because then you can have enough time to set up the MySQL server, make sure it works, make sure you can log in, make sure you can do the tables on the pages of the chapter. So we have plenty of time from Thursday all the way till next Thursday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's awesome. That's actually great timing for this chapter.
Yep.
All righty. Anything else for the good of the order, Brooke?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right, everybody, if you're all good, give me a 1. All right, how are we? Are we good? All right, thank you everybody. I'll stop the recording.